Good morning and welcome to the Nicollet County Board of Commissioners meeting. Please rise for the flag pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Nicollet County Board meeting. To all of the successful office seekers, we congratulate you, including County Attorney Michelle Sender Fisher.
Thank you.
And let's see, the sheriff's not here, but he won too, and our county recorder did. So, and to all who were successful in the election, and certainly those who ran for election. It's a terrific opportunity that we have in this country of ours to represent our fellow citizens, and so we thank all those who took part in the election last Tuesday. We'll be hearing from Jackie about the numbers of people that voted in Nicollet County later on in this meeting, and it will be very impressive, I think. So,
Mr. Chair, congratulations to you as well on your re-election.
thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate the kind words and look forward to serving our citizens of Nicollet County, along with my fellow board members. And Terry Morrow will be replacing you, Commissioner, right?
Yes,
in
I
January?
understand that, yep.
So we'll look forward to that change that comes to the Nicollet County Board. Any new employees today? Oh, let's approve the agenda. I'm sorry. I've got this cold that's affecting my thinking. Chair will accept a motion to approve the agenda.
Move the agenda.
I will second.
Commissioner Kemp and Lipke, any additions or corrections to this agenda? Or everything is looking good? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Thank you. Now, introduction of new employees. Do we have any today, Mr. Crush?
No, none today.
All right. Consent agenda. The chair will look for a motion to approve. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move it.
Commissioner Kemp has moved. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to remove the one with the chip cases.
Are you seconding first, Commissioner?
I will, yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
The reason I like to have it removed is that the county dollars involved is $55,000, and I just would like to go over it with Ryan and Michelle a little bit.
You want to do that after the meeting is complete, or the?
It doesn't matter whenever you want to do it.
We can
We could
address it
do
now
it
if you'd
during the
like.
administration part.
We could do it, take a vote on the consent agenda, and then I could just talk about that item right afterwards.
All right, well, with that item removed, all in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, carries. With respect to Commissioner Stenson's question,
Yes, I can address that request. So Nicollet County is required to provide legal services for parents that have children in need of protective services, referred to as CHIPS cases. We've in the past had two attorneys basically under contract that we pay $2,000 a month to provide those services, and then a third attorney who is available hourly to provide services that when there's conflict cases. Attorney Tom Hagan has been doing that for I think a number of years. He has ended his contract as of October 1st, so we needed to have a third attorney. The county sheriff, court administrator, and probation director interviewed candidates or people interested in providing that service, and recommended that we hire where's her name? Lisa Chesley for that service. And so that's the contract you have before you. Her contract would take effect effective today through next year, and then the motion would also include renewing the contracts of the other two individuals.
Okay, so we budget $55,000 for, is that for 2019?
Right, so the two...
You know, because it's, yeah, including the current budget, it's 55. Okay, I don't know what Did we increase it for 2019?
We might have increased it by 5,000. I can't remember what we had in there, but basically the two attorneys that we have under contract receive 24,000 apiece for the year, and then the extra is for the hourly rate that we have to pay for conflict cases.
Okay, now my understanding is that if there's a CHIP case, so these attorneys, these outside attorneys are not associated with Nicollet County, except that they're under contract to provide legal services to the parents.
Correct.
And who's representing the children?
Children ages 10 and older are represented by the Public Defender's Office.
Okay, and where does guardian ad litem come in?
Guardian ad litems are covered under the judicial branch.
Okay, so they may or may not be involved in a CHIPS case?
They are involved in all CHIPS cases except for truancy cases where an out-of-home placement is not recommended.
Okay, and then where's the county in this, in a CHIPS case? What is the county doing from a legal standpoint?
The Human Services files the petition. And so we're seeking to find the parent in need of protection or services, or seeking the permanency outcome. And so once we file that petition, then the parents are asked whether they want an attorney. Children 10 years and older are asked if they want an attorney, and then a guardian ad litem is involved as well.
Okay, so this is not a prosecution in a sense, is it? It's more or less finding the facts and the best solution for the situation?
Correct. It's to provide services to the family.
And I suppose all the attorneys, including the county, would make a recommendation to the judge, and the judge makes a decision.
Correct.
There's no jury involved.
No, there's not a jury.
Yeah. And so there's no, I suppose, some kind of criminal charges could be brought out of the CHIPS case, but not part of it.
Correct. There could be if the behavior that led to the filing of the CHIPS case rises to the level of criminal behavior, there could be criminal charges, but that would be handled separate and apart from the CHIPS matter.
Okay. Now another question with respect to the parents. What if they are financially able to hire their own attorney? Is this attorney the same situation where a public defender, I mean, if they don't have any money, they get this attorney, or if they're millionaires, they still get this attorney?
No, they still have to qualify. I think there might be a slightly different standard between the court-appointed attorneys and the public defenders. I'm not 100% certain on that, but the court still has to determine if the parents are eligible, and we do occasionally have times where individuals would like to have an attorney appointed to represent them, but they don't qualify.
Okay, what if the case of parents who are divorced, do they each get their own attorney?
The statute now reads that you start with the presumption of a single attorney, but if their interests are different, then separate attorneys are appointed, and generally speaking, it's separate attorneys because it's not very it doesn't happen very often where the parents' attorneys or interests are aligned.
Okay. Thank you very much. And Mr. Chair, I wanted to bring this up, not that I would oppose this, but that I wanted to understand the circumstances behind why we were doing it now. And I guess I didn't understand that we had one attorney that quit and another one was starting. I didn't understand that until just now. And I think also at the same time, it's kind of an educational process for us to have you both explain what's going on in this area of the county services and things that are happening with CHIP cases. So I appreciate it very much. Thanks.
Question, Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Unrelated?
Commissioner?
That $24,000, is there a certain limit of hours they'll do for that? It could be 0 or it could be 100 hours a month.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm familiar with the name Chesley from some Mankato attorneys, but I don't know the background of this particular Chesley.
I believe that's the same
Family?
Family.
Yeah.
It's Bob Chesley's daughter.
Daughter? Okay.
And she's got experience with Blue Earth County, I believe.
She's
doing
done the
CHIPS cases.
correct Blue Earth County CHIPS cases for a number of years, and I don't know if she's done other counties, but she's done Blue Earth counties for quite a while. And she was just we had a Children's Justice Initiative training on Friday, and she attended that training with Nicollet County.
I see. Any other questions that you have, Mr. Stenson?
No,
Do
thank
you
you,
want to
Chair.
make a motion to approve this then?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Please call the roll on this.
Stetson?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Lipke?
Yes.
Randall?
Yes.
Kolar?
Yes, carries. Thank you for your help and the question. Public appearances. Ms. Hildebrandt, do you have some report for us today?
Good morning, Commissioners, Administration. Today, I'm bringing 3 Gustavus students with me to see government in action. These are senior Gustavus nursing students. They're in their final run for for school, and part of their experience is to learn about public health and how our political process is intersecting with what we do. So we'll be bringing a few more in a couple weeks.
Welcome, ladies.
Would you like to introduce yourselves and tell us where you're from?
Go ahead.
I'm Hannah Lemke. I'm from Glencoe, Minnesota.
I'm Caitlin Olson. I'm from Blue Earth.
I'm Chrissy Bang, and I'm from Brooklyn Park, Minnesota.
Very good, thank you.
Good luck
Thank
with
you.
things.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, Tri-County Solid Waste. Morning, Al. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Thank you all for your time. Today in front of you, we have the bids were submitted by Waste Management and Riverview Sanitation, and it's for the West End rural recycling locations. That includes Cortland, Klossner, Lafayette, and St. George. Just a little bit of a history. Riverview Sanitation was doing the polls per pole per location for $95. They asked for an increase. The increase was to the amount where we had to go out for bids. We went out for through the bid process, and we received 2 back. One from Waste Management, which averaged $200 per pole per location, and Riverview Sanitation, which gave us a price of $125 per pole per location. And that amount is still less than what the previous hauler would have been, Hanson Sanitation. So I'm in front of you today to request your approval of this new price for our West End rural recycling service.
Mr. Chair, I'll move it that we award the bids to Riverview Sanitation, and I got a couple of questions.
There's a
Second.
motion. Is there a second? Is that
Second.
yours, Commissioner? Discussion, Commissioner Stenson?
Al, thanks for this. Now, this bid, what's the duration on this contract?
It's a 1 year with automatic renewal.
Okay, at the same price, and if they feel like they need to have it increased, they wouldn't renew automatically, they have an opt-out at that point.
Correct.
right? Okay, so this period of time is from when to when? When does it start? January or
I believe it's December 18th.
December 18th, okay? And, of course, they haul these, they take our drop boxes that we provide them with Nicollet County on them, and they take them to New Ulm, where they empty them apparently, at a recycling center, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. They have a
Good.
facility there, they sort it, and then they mark it to various locations, but primarily it goes to Demcon and Shakopee.
Yeah, all right, good, thank you.
Any other questions to the motion in front of us? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Stetson?
Yes.
Lipke?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Randall?
Yes.
Kolar?
Yes, carries. Do you have anything else to report?
No, sir. Other than that, on behalf of the Tri-County Board, we want to thank Commissioner Stenson for all of his time, effort, support on our programs and services. You've been a great voice for, recycling certainly, and all of our other programs and services. So we really appreciate you and your time, and And like Joe
Al.
Mauer, I think you're retiring at a time where you can still enjoy your youth.
Yeah, my youth, right. Or my rebellion,
Yes.
which I'm currently doing.
Yes. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
how often
Commissioner.
do these fill up regularly, or isn't there really a rhyme or reason to it?
It does vary. Summer activities fill them up more, so we do have more pulls during the summer. Certainly graduations, weddings and such. So it will vary, but the winter months we do slow down and then we adjust the pulls accordingly. It's really communication between the haulers and myself.
All right, thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Finance, Heather, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. All right, I'm coming before the board today to bring a resolution to delegate EFT, Electronic Funds Transfer Authority. It came to our attention recently that we needed to make a change to follow the statute 471.38 subdivision 3A, which is having the board delegate EFT authority to the finance leadership. And then along with this, you will also be getting a transaction. We will be, with the bills every month or every meeting, we'll be distributing the electronic funds that were issued in that period. So you will notice this time with the board, you also received we'll be doing this twice a month. So this one you received today is from October 16th through October 31st, and any electronic transfers that were made. So this one specifically was about 1.4 million. So this resolution, you'll see, we'll be doing every year in January to delegate that authority, and then I'll be providing that resolution to the banks, and then also, again, providing that notification to the board. Any questions I can answer?
So this resolution that you've provided us is only effective until January 1, or when we have our first organizational meeting?
Correct, yes. We, when talking with the auditors, we wanted to make sure to get this done as soon as possible, and then going forward every
We'll
January.
see it again shortly.
Correct.
Okay.
Right, the legislature adopted this law in 17, and we just became
Correct.
aware of it this year, so we're getting on the books for this year, and moving
Gotcha.
forward, it'll be a procedural process.
You see go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, this is a little confusing for me. We've been doing electronic transfers,
Mhm.
but the state says that we need to appoint somebody that be in charge of it. Is that it? And then,
Correct.
but electronic transfers can go any place,
So the-
correct? I mean, to any bank, wherever you send the electronic
Right.
transfer.
It'd be coming
Normally
from our bank accounts
From
to
our bank accounts
Mhm.
to some other bank.
bank or employees for their payroll.
Oh,
And
okay.
that would be considered an EFT as well. That's probably our most common one that you'll see at every one is the payroll.
Because you get, some vendors maybe want it this way.
Correct.
And the state of Minnesota, the Department of Revenue would like it this way, right?
Right, yes.
That would be the only way they'll take it.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
So in your bills for this meeting,
Right.
I got it on my screen here, but it's a new spreadsheet that Heather will provide, and staff will provide each time there's bills, showing what our EFT total is.
Any other questions to the resolution? Do we need to
Yeah, I-
read the resolution into the record or not?
No, not for this.
I have one
not for
more
this one.
question.
Okay, Commissioner, go ahead.
There's one in here for $500,000 to the Minnesota Department of Revenue for statewide property tax payment, May, June, October, December. I think this is the tax collected, or part of the tax collected from commercial and industrial properties.
Correct. So there'll be, and I know Jackie's here, she could probably answer more, but there's 3 payments made, the estimate in October, another estimate in November, and then the final one in December.
Okay. And the total, what's the total for the whole year usually?
That we give to the state of Minnesota.
Yeah.
On a distribution. Probably a little more than 2 million.
Right.
Just a tad more.
Because we have a check made out.
back here.
Yeah, it's still back here. The thing is, well, anyway, okay. And so you still have to authorize, they can't just take the money out on a certain day. You have to authorize how much it's gonna be, and you gotta push the button in order for it to go.
So there's 3 settlement periods, one in June, one in November, and a cleanup settlement in January for the end of the year. So in June and November, they each get 3 payments, and I figure out 2 estimate half payments, and then the actual cleanup, or the actual. And then in November, 2 estimates, which is usually 500,000, 500,000, and then a cleanup of maybe 300,000
Okay.
or something.
Okay, the reason I kinda zero in on this one is because I never did like the aspect that the state of Minnesota collects property taxes from our taxpayers, from our businesses and commercial and industrial people. I mean, you know, businesses in the county. I think that was a state law to kind of help the general fund. And I like the premise, the principle that property taxes pay for local expenses, school districts, cities, and counties. So I was always opposed to this, but unless the state comes up with a lot of money, they'll never reverse it now. It's really too bad. It puts an extra burden on our small businesses. So anyway, that's my opinion.
And I'll second that concern.
Right.
All right, so we need a motion on the resolution.
I'll move the resolution.
Commissioner Kemp has moved. Is there a second? Commissioner Drantle?
Yes.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, appreciate it. Election recap. Some interesting news coming here, I think. There's another reporter in the back there. Did you see, Ken?
I might have to make a copy
Okay.
then.
Morning,
But yes, I'm
Jackie.
sorry, I didn't mean to exclude. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I would have had this at a handout in the packet, but I just actually put these numbers together. So I kind of want to just give you an overview of what's been going on in our office and obviously Nicollet County with the election. I'll wait till everybody has theirs.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you, John.
So the first graph on the top, I just want to review, and I'm going to jump over to the total votes is what we'll talk about initially. So for 2018, the total votes this year was 15,816. We have 19,791 voters, which is an 80% turnout, which is very high for a mid-year election like this. You can compare a little bit in 2016. Obviously, we're less than that. We had 251 votes. We had a 91% voter turnout in 16, which was very high as well. But in comparison to 14, if we want to compare 18 to 14 to a similar election, there was an 11,829 for 62% turnout. So we went from a 62% turnout to an 80% turnout, comparing apples to apples there. So we heard on the media a lot about voter turnout and how everybody was voting early in it, and it sounded like we were going to break all records. And which we did break records. We did exceed our 2014. We didn't exceed 2016, but I think what we do see is a shift in the way the voters are actually voting. So the next little graph I want to just show you, in 2018, I have it broke down between voters by absentee, so anybody that did an absentee ballot in our office or by mail or actually came in, and voters by mail ballot for a total so for 2018, we had 4,086 votes come through Nicollet County and counted here at the county. In 16, our mail ballots were less, but we had so many precincts go mail ballots, so that was expected to go up. So in 2016, we had 2,678 come through our office. In 2014, Voters by absentee was only 796. Now, that was the first year of the no excuse absentee, and I don't think a lot of people caught on about that they could actually come down here and vote, so we were considerably lower. So we only had 891 votes come through our office. So you can see from 2014 to 2018 to now we're taking in over 4,000 votes, and how how the trend is going. So for 2018, 25% of all votes came through our office. That was a lot. We have a smaller staff. We had to pull in other staff members in the courthouse to accommodate this. So now I think that we're actually seeing a trend like this. We're going to have to rethink how we kind of do business in our staffing situation, and knowing that this is probably going to keep exceeding. And so if we have 25% of all votes cast here, eventually are we going to have 50% of all voters voting here at the county, or here at Nicollet County, and not so many at the polling place? Kind of just a question that we have to talk about.
It used to be, one second, Jim.
Yeah.
It used to be that people who were going south to Florida.
Deer hunters was a big
who
one.
That
because
they
they
would
were
do the absentee, but it seems to me that the state of Minnesota is making it easier for people to be more anxious with their votes and get it done, instead of maybe wondering about whether November, whatever day it's going to be snowing or something like that. So what I think I'm hearing you say is, should this county board or should our county be looking at temporary staff from October until November, or
46 days prior to the election is when we see is when they can start voting by absentee. At the beginning, it's not so much, but with our mail ballots so high too, we have plenty of work in our office. So we may have to be looking at pulling in some temporary staffing, maybe a different way that we process those counter people. Maybe I think we have some ideas in the office, and now after this all settles down, we'll have to have that conversation, how we can serve the voters better. And I believe we served the voters very good. We just they worked very hard. I want to compliment my staff. I want to compliment the other people in the courthouse that helped us out. There were many offices that did, and that helped us get through it. I don't know that we were quite expecting what we saw this year with the midterm. We knew that last year was big, but I think this was our turning year, or this really means a lot to us. Is it always going to be bigger, or is it only going to be presidential elections? And this, I think, shows that it's just going to compound, and we're going to be shifting to voting here. So
how do we compare the 80%, which I think is higher than our neighbors in Blue Earth County? Do you know what the other counties around us?
I do not. I did not take that time.
Nicollet County is the highest.
Nicollet County has always had a very high voter turnout. We have great voting history. I did take a look at our mail ballots also, those mail ballot precincts, and they were consecutively about 20% higher across the board. But this was a large turnout anyway, so I think we see more in our mail ballot situation when you compare the primary in 14 to the primary in 18. And I did jot down some numbers of some that were really astonishing, I thought. In Belgrade Township in 14, in the primary, now not the general, they had 41 voters. And in the primary in 2018, they went up to 280 because they were mail ballot. That's a substantial jump for them. Nicollet Township had 17 voters in 14's primary. And in 2018 primary, they had 108 voters. So you can definitely see that our voter turnout with mail ballots too is pushing that up higher too than maybe some counties that don't have as many mail ballots, which those are becoming to be a trend as well. So,
Commissioner Stenson?
Jackie, thanks for this report. In the next election, there will be more townships going on the mail ballot, I believe. Everybody
possibly
except Traverse?
Cortland?
Except Portland? Don't know.
I haven't been notified officially of who will be or who won't be.
okay.
So until they send us a resolution, I've heard chatter that they may like to go mail ballot.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought Oshawa was going to, but I can't remember. Okay, so there's just 3 townships that don't have mail-in ballots yet?
4, 3 standalone townships, and 1 in Cortland combines with the city of Cortland. So it's
So
not
they're
exactly a standalone one,
Okay.
but
The other
anyways.
question I have is, when you have a voting place, the ballots come in, people vote, it runs through the machine and then stored in the machine. The question is, during a 45-day period,
Mhm.
people walk in here and vote, or you get things coming in the mail. So during this whole time, you got mail coming, so you must have strict procedures to keep those ballots in a safe place and not get lost on somebody's desk or something.
Yeah, so first
How's that
off,
work?
we do start taking absentee ballots 46 days prior to the election, but we are not allowed to open and use the voting machine until 7 days prior.
Okay.
So those ballots that are all coming in are all stored under lock and key, and they are balanced every single day. So when I say balanced, we need to balance to make sure we have the exact amount of envelopes. They're not opened at this point, and they are stored, but we balance the number of envelopes for each
Because you have
one.
every registered voter sign something too, so you have a tabulation of who came in and, because you notify the precincts of who already voted.
Yeah, that is a little bit different. There's different procedures
Well, then how
for
do you
different
count
times.
them? What do you count them against?
So what we do is at the beginning of the 46 days, everybody votes by sealing up their ballot and signing the outside envelope. There's an inside secrecy envelope. So then once the 7 days prior comes around, we can now, after we balance, we can now open, separate, and insert those ballots into the ballot
Yeah,
counter.
When you say you balance every day,
Yeah.
so what do you balance it against? It's a
So we have
debit credit type thing.
we have the Secretary of State's, we have an SVRS system where we enter and make those ballots accepted. And so if the state system says Belgrade should have 50 ballots, I should have 50 ballots or 50 envelopes in the Belgrade drawer in our deal. And sometimes the signatures are then on the envelopes. But once we run rosters and people are voting here, in 7 days prior, they can start a direct ballot into the machine. Those names are called or emailed or whatever to the voting precincts to make sure they mark that roster AB, so they know that person voted AB. And we do that as timely and efficiently as possible. We make sure our townships and cities know that when we let you know, we need you to mark that book ASAP. So.
Have we had any incident that you know of somebody voting absentee or by mail, and then coming in to vote physically, coming in?
At the polling place?
Yeah.
That did happen in 16. And now for 17, we now are entering the rosters. So all the rosters that have been sent back to us, my staff is entering all the rosters. So at that point, I guess if we do come across somebody that did vote at the polling place and it already tells us that they voted by absentee, we would then have to contact the county attorney.
Okay, but so if I voted absentee 2 weeks before the election and then I went to the polling place, isn't the election judge supposed to look at the sheet and say?
Well, you would be
hey,
signing it. So yeah, there would
and
have
say,
to be
hey,
a very
you can't vote today because you voted 2 weeks ago.
Correct.
Or whatever, right?
Yep.
So that's how you eliminate that.
Yep. So we don't expect to see that unless there was a rare circumstance that something happened and whatever it is that happened. We'd have to review that.
We noticed that the returns from Nicollet County were ahead of many counties in the state. Why was that able to be?
So what we've done, the Secretary of State has told us, and even that day, they say our number one duty on election night is to get those results to the state. There's plenty of work in the office and back office work that also needs to be done. But what we do now in Nicollet County, we did it in 16 and again in 18. We send runners out to North Mankato. We send runners to St. Peter and pick up their media cards. and then we're able to upload those. Remember, those results are unofficial at that point. So they're still working at the polls to do their back office, but instead of doing the back office first and then uploading the cards, we upload cards first. We make it a priority to get that in, and we can do all the balancing and the other paperwork that needs to be done after that. So that's what we've done.
Questions for Jackie, Commissioner Lipke, and then Commissioner Kemp?
Now, the mail-in ballots have to be in your office on Tuesday to count?
Correct.
So did you get any that came in late?
Yes.
And
I believe the day after, and I don't know which ones were mail ballots and which ones were absentee, because we do absentee by mail as well. I believe on Wednesday we had 30 ballots come in that we
my.
rejected, and on Thursday we had 4 ballots that came in that we were rejected.
But if they're postmarked,
Doesn't matter. Postmark doesn't matter. That's only in
That's
Texas.
Florida.
Yeah.
Only in
Maybe
Texas?
Florida, I don't know. But no, it has to be in our hands and they're aware of it. And a lot of times people are requesting mail ballots Thursday before the election, Friday. We still do make that effort to get those out to them. We're not going to say we're not going to mail that. We're going to say it might be close. You might want to consider bringing this back in. But if they choose to mail it in knowing that it's close, they're just not
Commissioner
counted.
Kemp?
A couple of procedural questions. One, and citing that specific example, if I have received on Monday my ballot, can I return my mail ballot to any polling place? Or does it have to come
No,
back
it'd
here?
have to be back at the courthouse.
Okay.
They can
And
hand
then,
deliver it.
The numbers that you described here are those that were counted ballots, or is that total ballots?
Counted ballots.
Thank you.
Correct, yep. So we had several absentees that were requested that a ballot was sent out to them and they just either A, didn't return it, or they maybe decided to go to their polling place and they still could do that and forego that absentee because it was just as a sent out stage, not an accepted stage, so they could still vote at their polling place, and some do. Some might have thought it got too close, I'm just gonna go to the polling place, so.
And most of the errors that we were talking about, is kind of moot where we have a lot of precincts that don't open. If they aren't physically open, I can't go vote at that precinct place.
Correct.
So some of those errors, because a lot of our townships are voting
Right.
strictly by mail.
Right.
correct?
So, you know,
Or
our-
they can
our-
they can still come here and cast a
They
regular
can still
ballot.
come here and cast a regular ballot.
Yep.
So our polling places are less. You know, we got 7 in North Mankato, 4 in St. Peter, and then really only the 3 small towns and 3 small townships left. So our polling places are a lot less.
Mr. Chair, I have one more question.
Yes, Commissioner.
I noticed we got a couple hundred less registered voters than 2 years ago. Does that mean we're losing population, or does that just mean that more people register for when there's a presidential election?
No, this would be a snapshot in time. So you may have people that have registered somewhere else that are no longer living here. And plus right now, we also took in, I have it here, I believe. We took in 1,373 election day registrations. So those aren't counted as who's registered at 7 a.m. on election
really?
day.
Okay.
So on election day, so now that's another back office. My staff is now hand entering 1,300 voter reg
So now we're
people.
gonna have 21,000?
We'll also lose some too that were registered in Nicollet County as a 7 a.m., but they really don't live here anymore.
They moved
So
away
some
or
went
passed
out.
away.
They could have, right? So,
Okay,
so it's kind of a moving target
Sure.
always.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Drassel, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
And when did you get to bed election night, or didn't you?
Or maybe
We
Lipke's
left
still
here about 12:30.
Okay, good.
Good for you. Thank you.
Would you like to describe how you think everything went in 2018 in the election for your office?
I think it went very good. We were very busy. Staff was at the counter explaining to a lot of mail ballot precincts how this really works. Why wasn't their polling place open? Why did my township go mail ballot? what can I do with my ballot? Can I bring my ballot in here? I threw my ballot away. I threw my ballot away this first time. So there was a lot of education that went along with not only helping the people at the counter, but educating them as they came in. So I think it was a little more frantic this year. But I think going forward, we're going to improve that. So there was a lot of education to those mail ballot precincts. And we're going to have that conversation about, with the townships, how do we educate your people more? Statutorily, we do our statutorial by sending out a mailing in May of last year, but not everybody reads the May mailing. Not everybody paid attention to the primary ballot that came in the mail, but everybody paid attention to that general ballot. So even though there was multiple mailings, there was still a lot of education that we learned that we need to continue or work with the townships on that.
Well, I mean, I think it's clear that folks in Nicollet County they take elections very seriously, and we're just proud of these numbers, and thank you and all of your staff for the efforts that you folks put in that night.
Thank
and
you.
Leading up to the 46 days beforehand. For the first time, I was able to do an absentee ballot this year. Brought my 20-year-old son in, and my future daughter-in-law, and within 5 minutes we were all done at different times. So you folks really served us well, I thought.
Good. Another thing I forgot to mention was that was new this year that took us a little off guard was the organizations, and I'm not even sure what organizations they were, but they mailed out absentee ballot applications to various people. I don't know if it was a political party, whatever it was. Not everybody got them, and not everybody in the same household got them. So I don't know what their mailing was. Now, even though they are perfectly legal, they did not come from Nicollet County, but if they wanted to, but it was a ploy to get people to vote. And if you're not going to go to the poll, just sign this piece of paper, return it to the county, you're going to get a ballot. So that was great. It was perfectly legal. It wasn't fraudulent. But with us not having a heads up, and all of a sudden thousands of them were sent out, so people were signing and mailing them back, and then when they got the ballot, almost wondered, why did I get a ballot? Because they didn't really realize what they were even signing. So that was another obstacle in this year's election that we really weren't prepared for. But it all ended up fine. So.
Well, very good. Thank you very much, and we appreciate your efforts.
Thank
do you have
you.
anything else to share with us
I do
today?
not. Nope.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you.
Administration, Mr. Kush?
The only item I wanted to bring up is each year we typically, after the election, host a legislative forum for our state and federal elected officials. We typically have done that in January. Is that something the board would like to do again? Knowing that we also go to the legislative conference in February or March through AMC and visit with our folks then, but if that's something we want to do, I could certainly set that up.
When will the legislature begin? Is it January
It's early this
7th
year.
or something?
Yeah, somewhere around that date.
Yeah.
So I think what we would have to do is let them get their committee assignments, get their schedules,
Right.
and probably look towards the end of January is my guess when we can maybe get them in here.
On a Friday, probably.
Yeah, I believe they typically get Fridays available to them to
Right.
travel back home, so.
Well, if it pleases the board, I think that's something that's very useful for us as a county board and department heads when we sit around a table and share these ideas. So
Okay.
would you please do that?
Sure, I will set that up.
I'm going to Hawaii the last part of January.
Well, we're not gonna meet there, John, so
I can't remember exactly what day we're.
unless you're paying, then we can meet there.
We could have a, whatever.
Have a discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right. Anything else, Mr. Crush?
Not today.
Chair's report, I wanted to ask, I reported to the Cato Exchange Club on October 30th, and I forgot to ask board members if you would grant me the opportunity of of a per diem on that event. I was invited to share with what's going on in Nicollet County the week after Mark People from Blue Earth County did his sharing of Blue Earth County, so I would ask.
Did you meet at the Happy Chef?
We did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've been there too, once. I was
Yeah.
invited.
Yeah.
That's a couple of years
Yeah.
ago.
So I would ask the board's consideration. AMC district meeting in Waseca was on November 2nd. We had a pretty good turnout there. We are at Farm America. Commissioner Drantle and I have been involved with union negotiations on November 5th. Still working on that. Commissioner Lipke and I were at the county survey meeting on the 9th, and Commissioner Drantle and I were on the extension committee last night. That's all I have. Commissioner Drantle?
I had the Brown Nicollet conference call, of which Jim was AWOL,
Yeah.
and a city-county liaison meeting. And last Thursday, I attended the elected women's luncheon that was here in St. Peter.
Oh.
I don't always get to go, schedule permitting. It's a lively group with lots of wisdom and thoughts.
Thankfully, you women are gonna be taking over the country, so that's a good thing.
That's the plan.
That's the plan. All right, Commissioner Kemp.
Well, in attending several of our assigned committees, we continue to work with South Central EMS on making some transition changes there, and I've been assigned to an additional committee within that group to help facilitate their day-to-day operations. In addition to that, I was able to attend the FEMA rollout yesterday, or on, what was that?
Wednesday or Thursday.
Thursday. And gleaned the information from our experts in that area, and again, greatly appreciative of all of the players that helped make the elevation changes along 169 for our communities as a whole, and helping get that resolved in the new mapping from the FEMA at-risk properties. Additionally, joined you at the AMC conference, had an excellent response. No one took my offer for taking any water off County Road 12, which I was disappointed in, but unfortunately, apparently everybody has plenty of water right now, so that's not been a big selling point. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lipke?
Went to the AMC District 7 thing with you guys, and it was a very good program, but the lunch that Nicollet County served was better than the lunch we had there. Went to the soil and water meeting, Nicollet. Went to the FEMA meeting with Denny, and actually made a visit to the Lafayette City offices based on information I got there. They didn't seem too interested at this point
In what?
in getting their city eligible for FEMA flooding
Right.
insurance.
We have 2 communities that are not in the program, and so we learned that at our FEMA meeting.
Yeah.
So,
And all they would have to do is get something in motion and
Right.
published, and then they could be in, but, well, we'll see. I brought my information that I had up to them and left it there. Went to the survey results meeting here of the employees, and hosted 2 young ladies over the weekend because there was a, like, semi-national choral festival at MVL with 12 Lutheran high schools from all over the country. And some of the people came from Florida and Arizona, and we're not ready for the weather on Thursday, Friday, and
Are there
Saturday.
Lutherans in Florida? I
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
know that.
Miami.
All right, thank
They
you.
probably all moved there from here.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Stenson?
Well, I attended the St. Peter Liaison Committee meeting with Marie, and I had some notes, but did I bring them? No, I forgot. I'm kind of retired already, Jack, so these lapses
understand.
are excusable,
Yeah.
aren't they? That's the only thing I did while since the last board meeting. So thank you.
All right, approval of commissioner meetings and conferences. You've all been visiting with Lynette regarding AMC annual, and so everyone's taking care of that. Ask for a motion to approve the per diems and expenses.
I'd move with the addition of your request for your appearance.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Lipke, any comments, questions, or concerns about the per diems? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Any other business to come before the board at this time? If not, we will adjourn the commissioners' meeting and return in 10 minutes with the Drainage Authority meeting. Thank you. All right, good morning. We'll call the Drainage Authority meeting of Nicollet County to order. We have a motion for the consent agenda, which includes the October 23rd minutes and the draft repair reports. Chair will accept a
Move the
motion.
consent agenda.
Commissioner Kemp has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Drantle, any comments, questions, concerns on the motion?
Nathan's been busy.
Yes, he has.
I am abstaining, Jack.
Pardon me?
I'll be abstaining.
Okay. Commissioner Lipke will abstain. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Thank you very much. Now, the public hearing for approval of annual levies to individual drainage systems. We welcome everyone here and introduce you to Jackie Copeland. Good morning, Jackie.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Today at 10 o'clock is the annual ditch levy hearings. We have reviewed each ditch account, any ditch account that is in the negative, we review and need to levy that ditch to bring that back to a positive amount in that ditch. All landowners have been notified with proposed bills, so they have an idea what their bill is. And after the approval today, we'll send out those actual bills. They will then have the opportunity to pay that ditch bill in full by the end of the year with no interest. And if it is not paid, it'll roll over on the property taxes at an interest rate of 4%. And depending on the amount of the bill over a certain period of time. So $0 to $500 bills will be assessed for 1 year. 501 through 1,000 is 2 years, and 201 or 1,001 and over is 3 years. So, with that, I will. We have numerous ditches that will be asked to be levied today. And so we'll do each ditch individually. I'll mention the amount that we're going to raise and what percent of the benefits we'll be asking to levy that ditch. And we'll also take public comment each ditch individually.
Before you begin, explain again why it's important that these ditch levies be brought to whack.
The reason we do this annually is these are bills that have already been paid. So Nicollet County has already put that money forward into that ditch account, so it's in the negative state. So this will restore it back to a positive amount. As all landowners within the benefited watershed are the ones that are responsible for paying those ditch levies according to their own benefits.
Thank you.
All right, I'll start with County Ditch 9. I am requesting a 35% levy of the original benefits to raise $23,889.25.
All right, you've heard the report. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Sorry.
Commissioner Lipke, Commissioner Kemp, discussion. Questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all, Commissioner Stenson, did you say something?
No.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
You should,
Do we have to
Mr.
have
Chair,
a
you
break?
should do the public comment on any public comment first before you
On
go
all
for
of
the
them,
vote.
individually.
Yes,
Yep.
I'm
Mike.
sorry, I didn't explain
I'm
that
sorry.
clear enough.
Anyone here from County Ditch 9? Anyone here from County Ditch 9 who wants to respond to this ditch levy? Anyone here from County Ditch 9? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. Well, next time, we're gonna ask for the input before we take a motion.
Correct.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries.
The next ditch is County Ditch 13A. I'm requesting a 30% levy of the original benefits to raise $30,497.70.
Is there public input on County Ditch 13A? Any comments on County Ditch 13A? Any comments on County Ditch 13A? All right, motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Lipke and Kemp, comments from the board on 13A? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Thank you very much.
County Ditch 30A, I'm recommending a 10% levy to raise $21,390.40.
You've heard the report on County Ditch A. We are asking for public input. This is a public hearing for tax levy this morning. Any response from anyone here on County Ditch 30A? Any comments, questions about County Ditch 30A? Hearing none, the board or the chair will accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Lipke and Kemp. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Thank you.
The next ditch is County Ditch 35A. I'm recommending a 65% levy to raise $13,653.90.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there public input on County Ditch 35A? Any comments or questions on 35A's levy? Anyone here for 35A? Chair will accept a motion to approve.
So moved.
Lipke has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Maurice Drantle is second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Jackie?
County Ditch 40A is the next ditch, and I'm recommending a 15% levy of the original benefits to raise $43,349.25.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there anyone here for County Ditch 40A? Any comments or questions about levies for County Ditch 40A? Anyone here representing County Ditch 40A? Hearing none, chair will accept a motion.
I'll move it.
Second.
Kemp and Lipke, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Thank you.
County Ditch 71 is the next ditch that I'm recommending a 12% levy of the original benefits to raise $9,013.44.
You've heard the recommendation on County Ditch 71. Is there any public testimony today for County Ditch 71 on the proposed ditch levy? County Ditch 71. Anyone here on Ditch 71? Hearing none, the chair will accept a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Lipke and Kemp have moved. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carries. Thank you. Jackie?
County Ditch 77 Lateral 2, I am recommending a 13% levy increase of the benefits to raise $6,737.30.
You've heard the recommendation on County Ditch 77 Lateral 2. Is there anyone here to provide public input on that particular lateral on County Ditch 77? Anyone here from County Ditch 77 Lateral 2? This is your time to provide public input on the tax levy for County Ditch 77 Lateral 2. Hearing none, we'll accept a motion to approve.
Move it.
Kemp has moved.
Second with a question.
Lipke has seconded. Your Commissioner, your question?
Does this, if this other project for 77 goes through, would you, this still would be necessary?
This was a petition cleaning that
Okay.
they wanted
Okay.
prior
Good-
to
good
the,
enough.
separate from the improvement.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions or discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Jackie?
County Ditch 82, I'm recommending a 14% levy of the original benefits to raise $6,642.30.
You've heard the recommendation on County Ditch 82. Anyone here to provide public input on County Ditch 82's levy? Anyone here for County Ditch 82 on the tax levy? Seeing none, the chair would accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Lipke and Kemp have moved it. Discussion? Questions? Concerns? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Thank you.
County Ditch 85, I'm recommending a 16% levy of the original benefits to raise $12,573.60.
You've heard the recommendation on County Ditch 85. Is there anyone here wish to speak to County Ditch 85 at this time? On the tax levy, public hearing for County Ditch 85. Anyone here today? County Ditch 85. Hearing none, chair will accept a motion to approve.
Move it.
Second.
Kemp and Lipke have moved. Discussion? Comments? Questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, carries. Thank you.
County Ditch 94, I'm recommending a 21% recommended levy of the original benefits to raise $8,023.68.
You've heard the recommendation on County Ditch 95.
94.
I'm sorry, 94. Thank you, Jackie. Anyone here to speak to County Ditch 84 ditch levies in this public hearing? Anyone here to provide public input on County Ditch 94? County Ditch 94, going once, going twice? So, we'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Lipke and Kemp. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, it carries. 96.
County Ditch 96, I'm recommending a 14% levy of the original benefits to raise $8,720.88.
You've heard the recommendation on County Ditch 96. Anyone here to speak to the tax levy in this public hearing on County Ditch 96? Sir, would you like to please step forward and give us your name and address? And we'll be happy to hear your concern. Name and address, please.
Name is Chad Twite. Address is 66276 350th Street at Gibbon, Minnesota.
Good morning, Chad.
Morning. My question is, how many acres is this County Ditch 96 draining?
I will look to Jackie. Can you answer that off the top of your head right this
I cannot
minute?
answer that, but I can certainly help you in my office
Okay,
afterwards, or I can give you a phone call back
okay.
to give you a good idea of the watershed.
Shed,
Right.
Yes.
well, because of the
Um,
80s.
Nate?
It's about
One second.
750 acres.
How much?
750.
Nate is our ditch guy. He's providing you information now. You said 750 acres?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you, sir?
I would think there'd be way more in there than that.
And we can certainly double and triple check those numbers. Nate, are you still finding that to be the accurate number?
Yeah, that's what the map shows.
We can provide you with a map of the watershed.
Okay,
And you can see exactly where the watershed line is.
okay.
Does that answer your concern, sir?
And I can help you after this meeting.
Okay, well, we better do it after the meeting then.
Okay.
Thank you very
Yep.
much. Any other comments, questions, concerns on County Ditch 96? Hearing none, Chair will accept a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I got a question.
Lipke and Kemp have moved. Discussion?
Jackie, on the first page under 2015, in the printout, you have beginning balance, 1,137.94. I guess I don't remember seeing that before on some of the others. Maybe I missed that, but the beginning balance, I didn't add all
Oh,
this
you know
up,
what,
but-
that should have been, this comes from a spreadsheet that we keep the totals going, and, that particular line should have been removed in there.
Okay, but
Yeah.
is that the total of the top? the
No,
other
there's
3 years?
multiple columns in this whole spreadsheet, and so it's probably a formula with other columns as well.
Oh.
So I don't exactly know. That should not be
So the total of
there.
8,722 is still correct, even though
Correct.
you should take that out?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions to the motion on County Ditch 96? And Mr. Twite, would you want to stick around and visit with our staff on the map so that that becomes clearer to everyone involved? Any other questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Thank you.
JD Ditch 1A and S. I am recommending an 80% levy to raise $41,297.20 for expenses on that ditch.
You've heard the report on JD 1A Nicollet Sibley. Anyone here to speak to that tax ditch levy for 2018? Anyone here speaking to Judicial Ditch 1A Nicollet Sibley? This is a public hearing on Judicial Ditch 1A Nicollet Sibley. Anyone here to speak to? Hearing none, Chair will accept a motion to approve.
I'll be abstaining from this one, Jack.
Motion to approve.
No, I'll move.
Second.
Kemp and Stenson with Lipke abstaining. Discussion on this item. Any discussion on this item? We'll be taking 4 votes. Please call the roll.
Kemp,
Yes.
Stinson,
Yes.
Lipke,
Abstain.
Drenthal,
Yes.
Kohlers.
Yes, carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, John.
JD 15NS, I am recommending a 35% levy of the original balance, or the original benefits, to raise $22,144.57.
You've heard the report on JD 15NS. This is a public hearing, taking public input now on JD 15 Nicollet Sibley. Anyone here to speak to the ditch levy for JD 15 Nicollet Sibley? Hearing none, Chair will accept a motion to approve.
Move it.
Commissioner Kemp has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Lipke. Discussion.
Jack, I got a question for Jack.
Commissioner Stenson, please go ahead.
You got 22,922.62 on your printout here for 2018. The 19,517, what is that from?
So this was part from 2017. If you look at the original benefits, there's 63,000.
Yeah.
And last year, we can only levy our maximum of 120,000, or 120% of the original benefits. So there were expenses from the prior year that we've already given the landowners, but we have a maximum amount of levy per year. And so part of this is from the outstanding is from the year before to collect the balance.
And then on your printout that I see on my screen, I don't see the 22,000 or the 19, or, so I don't understand, outstanding to be collected.
Right,
Oh,
that's from the year
That's from
before.
the year before.
And that would have been listed on last year's. We also levied them last year, so that was part of last year's levy.
Okay.
That's
so
an outstanding
okay,
amount from the
Alright.
itemized expenses from last year that the landowners would have gotten mailed to them last year.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Any other questions to this item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Thank you.
JD1SN, Sibley Nicollet. This is similar to the previous ditch for this year. I'm recommending 120% levy on that to raise $15,340.20. The total expenses exceed that, And so I need to raise 17,000, so the deficit will be collected in 2019.
You've
So
heard
the
the
maximum I can raise is the 15,340.
Right, okay.
Excuse me,
That's a
thank
good
you.
example of
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
Mhm.
You've heard the report on Judicial Ditch 1, Sibley Nicollet. Anyone here to speak to this ditch levy? This is a public hearing on the ditch levy for Judicial Ditch 1, Sibley Nicollet. Board will accept your comments at this time. Hearing none, board will accept a motion to approve.
I'll move it, and then I have a question.
Commissioner Stenson has moved. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Granville.
Jackie, on under 2018, it looks like the Nicollet County advanced to Sibley County Treasurer $20,000.
Mhm.
So that must have been in reimbursement for specific individual expenses that they made on the ditch for Nicollet County taxpayers.
Correct. This is, since it's Sibley Nicollet, Sibley is the lead county in that ditch. And so I believe there were they had a repair, and so they go ahead, pay those bills. And then, I don't know what our spread is, but it could be a 60-40. Maybe we take 40% of those. So we got a bill from Sibley County for that amount.
Any other comments, questions to the Judicial Ditch 1, Sibley Nicollet?
I'll be abstaining again, Jack.
Commissioner Lipke will abstain. Please call the roll.
Stinson?
Yes.
Granville?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Fuller?
Yes, carries 4-0 with 1 abstention. Thank you.
JD 6A, lateral A, Sibley Nicollet. I'm asking for a 30% levy of the original benefits to raise $6,924.60.
You've heard the report on Judicial Ditch 6A, lateral SN. Anyone here for that particular ditch on this public testimony time today? Public input on the ditch levy for Judicial Ditch 6A, lateral SN. Seeing none, Chair will accept a motion.
Second.
Kemp and Lipke have moved to approve. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Thank
The
you.
next 5 ditches were ditches that were redetermined and approved back in January. We are now looking at them to levy the expenses back. These expenses, the majority of it is probably for the purchase of buffer easements or redetermination costs. So I'll start with County Ditch 38A. I'm going to recommend a 3% levy of the new original benefits to raise $449,610.93.
You've heard the recommendation on County Ditch 38A. Are there any public comments on County Ditch 38A for this ditch levy hearing today? Hearing and seeing none, Chair will accept a motion to approve. Is there a motion? Commissioner Kemp has moved. Is there a second?
I'll be abstaining again.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Stenson is seconding. Commissioner Lipke is abstaining. Discussion. Any other comments?
One comment, I'm a little disappointed in the redetermination because I told the gentleman about 2 fields that go into that ditch that are scheduled to go into a different ditch, and he did get mine kind of semi-corrected, but the other one did not get corrected. He apologized for it. But the water, most of the water is going into 38, and the dollars are being paid to a different ditch. So I'm a little disappointed that it didn't get corrected in time. It's just a comment.
Any other comments from any other landowners on this County Ditch 38A? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Kemp?
Yes.
Stinson?
Yes.
Granville?
Yes.
Fuller?
Yes, carries 4-0 with 1 abstention.
County Ditch 61A, recommending a 1.3 levy of the new original benefits to raise $16,942.42.
You have heard the recommendation on County Ditch 61. This is a public hearing taking public input on this ditch levy. Anyone here from County Ditch 61? County Ditch 61. Chair will accept a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Lipke, Kemp have moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this side? Any discussion over here? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed, it carries.
County Ditch 76A, I'm recommending a 3.2 levy of the original, the new benefits, to raise $112,701.73.
You've heard the recommendation on County Ditch 76A. Anyone here that would like to testify to that ditch levy? County Ditch 76A. Anyone here that would like to speak to that ditch levy? Hearing none, Board Chair will accept a motion to approve.
So moved.
Lipke has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Stenson has seconded. Discussion. Comments? Questions? Concerns? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Thank you.
County Ditch 81, recommending a 4.3% levy of the new original benefits to raise $77,325.95.
You've heard the recommendation on County Ditch 81. This is a public hearing on this ditch levy. Anyone here on County Ditch 81? Anyone here wish to speak to the levy for County Ditch 81? Hearing none, Chair will accept a motion to approve.
I'll be abstaining again.
Commissioner Lipke will abstain. Commissioner Kemp has
I'll
moved. Is there a
second.
second from Commissioner Stenson? Comments, questions, discussion? Please call the roll.
Kemp?
Yes.
Stenson?
Yes.
Rental?
Yes.
Fuller?
Yes, carries 4-0 with 1 abstention.
The last ditch will be County Ditch 83 with the new benefits. I'm recommending a 2.3% levy of the original benefits to raise $28,968.85.
You've heard the recommendation on County Ditch 83. This is a levy hearing for County Ditch 83. Anyone here wish to speak to the County Ditch 83 levy hearing? This is your opportunity to speak to County Ditch 83. The Chair will accept a motion to approve.
Move it.
Commissioner Lipke, or Commissioner Kemp, excuse me, has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
I will
Commissioner
abstain again,
Drantle.
Jack.
Commissioner Lipke is abstaining. Any discussion on this County Ditch 83? Please call the roll.
Kemp?
Yes.
Rental?
Yes.
Stenson?
Yes.
Fuller?
Yes, carries 4-0 with 1 abstention. Jackie, do you have any more for us at this
I do
time?
not.
On these levies?
Levies, that would complete all of them.
All right, we appreciate the work that you've done, appreciate the input from members of the public. We will take a 5-minute break before we do our 86.
Can I have a short comment, Jack?
Yeah,
Just that, Jackie, we all hate paying these bills, but we like the work you do.
Thank you.
okay, we're on a short break until we'll get everybody set up for 86A. We are continuing the Drainage Authority meeting, the amended Drainage Authority agenda for November 13th. The Chair will now open the continued hearing on the detailed engineering survey report and improvement project. I'd like to ask County Attorney Michelle Zender Fisher to address the board and those in attendance before we begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, if you recall, we were here in July, and the Drainage Authority approved the final engineering report, approving a pump design on 86A. Following that approval, the engineer contacted the county and advised that there is a new design that he would like to have considered for 86A. Investigation occurred relative to that matter, and we had a hearing or a brief hearing to set the date of this public hearing for the Drainage Authority to consider that design change on County Ditch 86A. So we're ready today with a presentation. My recommendation to the board would be to have Mr. Brandel do the presentation, open it for public comment, and then have consideration by the Drainage Authority of the issue about whether the design change for the pump should go forward or not. And depending on or regardless of the vote, take a short recess to allow for preparation of the findings, and then come back and approve the findings.
Thank you very much for laying that out. Jackie Copet is here to begin this agenda item. Jackie, good morning.
Good morning again. I would like to put into record that this meeting was published in the paper, in the St. Peter Herald and Nicollet Ledger as well. October 25th, November 1st, November 8th, and it was also mailed to the landowners October 25th and posted on our board on October 25th.
Very good. Thank you, Jackie. Can everyone hear, commissioners, as we speak? Are you all hearing everything all right?
No, you could speak up a little bit more.
I could.
Yeah.
We do have hearing devices in the back. If you'd like to bring some up, Jackie. Everybody else? This is about as good as the, but we've got some of these, sir. I'm happy to help you out. Anyone else need a hearing device? My wife always tells me I need one.
Your fellow commissioners too, Jack.
That's true.
No comment.
What'd you say, Jack?
I don't know. How's that working out for you there, sir?
It's not in his ear.
How's that working out? Does that sound better?
Yep.
Very good. We'll now call upon Chuck Brandel to articulate the basis for the recommended change to the pump design. This should include detailing how the alternative became known, investigation made, involvement of landowners, and the engineering benefits of the system. Mr. Brandel should also have a calculation of cost savings due to improved efficiency. Good morning.
Good morning. So this is a little different. Typically after a final engineer's report, we are ordered to get the plans and specs completed. With a few factors that came into play. One, continually doing some research. We found a pump manufacturer that actually, it's a newer pump style that came out, and found two sites that had done something similar after the final hearing. Also, the performance of another pump in Nicollet County Ditch 90, similar style, not performing very well, led us to there's a better solution out there. Let's investigate it. Let's see if we can make it work under the within the project. And I feel that that we should move forward with this, but I'll go through the presentation. We'll get feedback. So just a little background for everybody. 86A is a 4,200 acre watershed. It drains generally from north to south into Swan Lake, and to function properly has to be pumped up into Swan Lake. So the majority of the improvement cost was to replace the existing pump system, which is barely hanging on at this point, would be a way to describe it. So here's a picture of the existing pump station with a supplementary tractor pump in place, showing you the existing conditions. The new pump station, if you recall from the hearing, was to be placed, this picture is kind of flipped with north being on the bottom. So the new pump station would be placed to the west and north of the existing station, and then the existing station would be used as a dike during construction. We'd pump out this area and hold water back from the lake during construction. The original design, and this is a little bit of a messy drawing, was to do 3 pumps in 3 manholes with the pump style, axial style with the pump on top, and essentially a propeller that pulls the water up. So we were gonna have 3 manholes with 3 separate pumps. One pump, 2 of the pumps at approximately 35,000 gallons per minute, and another pump at approximately 20,000 gallons per minute, for a total of 90,000 gallons per minute. Here's just a detail of what those pumps would look like. So this is actually a picture of the 90 pump that got pulled, but this is what the original design was for 86A, but a larger version of that. What we were proposing to do, we found a company, we've worked with them before, called Flight, and they showed us 2 similar, first I back up, the situation that we have here is somewhat unique, that we have 4,000 acres of surface runoff that we are pumping up into a lake. They found 2 examples of pump stations that are similar. One is in the city of Afton, Minnesota, where they pump storm sewer up into the St. Croix River during high flood times. And they have a pump similar to this, a little bit smaller version. And then there's another situation near Whitman, North Dakota, which is west of Grand Forks, where there's a 20,000 acre watershed that they pump water up 20 feet high and have built a very similar station. I believe it's been in operation for about 3 years now, 2.5, 3 years, and they have said it is working very well, and they are using a combination of a large submersible pump and a small submersible pump. So we went back to the drawing board after finding that we knew this smaller submersible pump was available, but this larger one is called the newer technology. The picture on the screen, this pump can pump 7,000 gallons per minute at the height we need it to. That picture doesn't do it justice. It's 5 feet tall, 3 feet in diameter. It's a big piece of equipment. The one on the left is 10 feet tall, 4 feet in diameter. So it kind of looks like a jet engine for pumping. And that's what I had been looking for. We found it after the hearing, so I just feel we should bring this forward and let's do this. There's a better way to do it. Let's consider it. So if we went with the revised design, we've gone probably 3 or 4 iterations looking at different pump layouts. We could do one large structure with the 3 pumps in it instead of 3 structures. And this may be hard to see for everybody, but there's a handout. The smaller pump would be at the bottom of the structure. About 2 feet higher than that would be the 2 larger pumps. And the smaller structure would always drain the bottom part of the ditch. The 2 larger pumps would kick on when water got to a higher elevation. The reason the structure is so long is instead of 3 pipes coming in, we'd have 1 8x8 box, and the distance is just to calm the water down so it's less turbulent as it comes into the intakes for these pumps. The pumps take the water from below and then they push it up, essentially a tube up to the top and out the top of the structure. Before we were pulling it up, this would be pushing it up. This is just a 3D schematic. We haven't finished plans yet because we wanted approval to do that, but we can do that fairly quickly. Of what the manhole would look like, what the pumps would look like. You'd have smaller pump, the 2 larger pumps, water coming in, they'd pump up and into the lake, and then we still have the auxiliary pipe if needed for certain cases. just going back on the detail on these, the way that they would be set into the structure, the two larger pumps would have tension cables on them. So they'd be hanging from the top, but then there'd be a steel, essentially a steel girder, steel plate at the bottom that they also sit on. So there's 2 feet of water that can come in and underneath. The smaller pump just sets at the bottom. There's still also a cable for that, and rail system, so that can just be pulled up for maintenance. But that would be at the bottom of the structure. The design would be very similar to what we had previously with 90,000 gallons per minute. The smaller pump is smaller in capacity than what we had previously discussed, but in my mind, a lot more efficient. This pump would be pumping a majority of the growing season, and it would be a lot more efficient pump, and I'll get into that. None of the discharge elevations, none of the effects on Swan Lake would change. We'd have the same output capacity under peak flows, but more efficient. We did talk previously about cost and separable maintenance. I won't go into that unless we need to. Previously, we had a total project cost of just over 1.5 million for the project, with the pumps being, I don't have the exact number, but about just under $1 million of that cost. This new design is about $250,000 more expensive. We've played with a couple different scenarios and found that this, to get the 90,000 gallons per minute, this would be the most cost effective. Now, I talked about efficiency. We ran some numbers based on a 8 cents cost per kilowatt hour. If you had an extremely wet year and all 3 pumps were running for 150 days, 24 hours a day, which would be a rare case, but it could potentially happen. Our original design would have cost about $112,000 to run and power. The new design would be $86,000. We ran a configuration where we ran 3 pumps that were the same, and it was actually more expensive, so that's why we're looking at the setup that we have. What's more of probably a normal year for this system, if the small pump ran for 150 days, 24 hours a day, which, I mean, still being somewhat conservative, the original design would have spent about $70,000 in electrical costs. This new design would be about $50,000. So you're saving about $20,000 a year, depending on how much rain you get, that's gonna vary, in running costs for the system. So it does cost more, but in the long run, I feel it would save the system dollars. I did talk to the viewers, and they said if you're not changing the, they're not concerned about your annual maintenance costs. They're concerned about how it's draining the system. So their cost benefit, their redetermination wouldn't change. So there would still be about approximately $810,000 of benefits. With the new system, you still have a net benefit of $61,000. So it still meets the cost benefit ratio as previously designed. There was an amendment 1. We're asking you to approve amendment 2, looking at a different style of pump system that would cost more dollars up front, but I believe in the long run would save dollars. I have a lot more detail and I can go into that, but at this point recommend that we consider this change and move forward with the bid documents.
We have some questions we want to make sure before we open this up. And you may have covered them, but I just want those answers if we could. whether the estimated benefits are still greater than the total estimated cost, including damages. Your answer to that is?
Yes.
Whether the proposed drainage project will remain of public utility and benefit and
Yes.
will promote the public health?
Yes.
And could you answer whether the proposed drainage project is practicable?
Yes, it still is practical.
I might have another question. Is there a generator, a standby generator that is going to be near this facility in case we have long-term power outage?
No, we don't have a generator included in the cost, but there's the ability to hook one up. So you could rent one and hook one up. So that,
Rent one and hook one up?
yep, you'd be able to do that. You could include it. We did not include it in the original design or on this design. So. One thing to add, just looking at the costs, without interest, I'm not sure exactly how you do your payback, if it's a 15 or 20-year payback. The extra $250,000 is, if you did a 20-year payback, it's about $12,000 a year, and we'd be saving more than that on most years in electricity. So,
all right,
just want to state that I think this saves money in the long run. And that's the reason we bring it forward. Our job is to do the best thing for the Drainage Authority. So.
I'd like to also then confirm with you, Mr. Brandel, that the design change will not impact the viewer's recommendations?
No, I met with, I sent the report to Mr. Ron Ringquist, and then I talked to him last week, and he said it would not change the viewer's report, except for there'd be an increase. Everybody's increase in cost would be the same proportional.
All right. Anything else that you'd like to add at this point in time?
Yes, we did talk with the owners of the North Dakota system, did obtain their plans, and they said that it is running very well. They do have some operational and maintenance ideas for us, but that's not what we're here today to approve. But we may have some other operation and maintenance things that we may come up that.
Do other board members have any questions of Mr. Brandel before we move forward?
Just a couple of questions. All of these pumps are rated for 100% duty cycle?
I believe so. Jake, do you know for sure? Yeah.
Okay.
Jake has been doing all of the correspondence with the pump company, so just.
And so, correct me if I'm wrong, the design also then puts live power directly in contact with the water, or is that a separate sleeve from the output?
There's a separate cable coming down.
Okay, and so it's not submerged per se?
Correct, it's
adjacent to it, it's in the core structure, but the outlet pipe from the pump is separate?
Yes, it's in its own
It
separate
wasn't
cable.
clear to me in the design, so that's why I'm asking
The
the question.
the smaller pump is very similar. It's almost a replica of what is used on sanitary sewer lift stations.
Okay.
So if you've ever seen how one of those operate,
Yep.
it's a big version of that.
Got it.
And another thing to add it is a grinder pump.
Okay.
Even though we do have a screen planned, the lower pump can take some debris fairly well. And
Less so than the larger two?
better than the larger two.
Better than the larger two,
Better
simply
than the
because of the
larger-
volume you're trying to move, that's why
Yes.
you've got the 2-foot offset.
Yep.
Does that make?
That's part of it. Another part of it is just costs.
Okay.
By moving those pumps 2 feet higher, there's 2 feet of less head, and we can reach the capacities that we need. So,
My other question would be, is there going to be remote monitoring, or was that part of the design? I know we
that
had
was part of
discussed
the
it way
design.
back.
Yes, that was part of the design either way.
And then that won't change. So if there is a failure or a failover, there'll be
Yep.
some ability to
Somebody,
notify
it can
somebody.
call somebody's cell
Somebody's gonna
phone,
get
it can
called to know
notify
what's
somebody's
happening.
computer and email, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's all 3-phase power?
Correct. Yep.
And that's already been put in place, correct?
3 phases there. Yep.
So, very good.
170 horsepower, 60 hertz.
Okay. And then do these have motor controllers, so these ramp up or these slam on?
They can have VFDs on them. I believe our control quote had a VFD on it. I'm 99%.
VFD on one of them and then soft starter on the other one.
Yes.
Okay, so
VFD on the smaller one.
Yep.
Yeah. The most of the work is going to be done by the smaller pump.
Right.
But
But the soft starters are, it's just not gonna slam if you have a failure, and
Yeah.
was the issue.
correct.
I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Jack?
Any other, Commissioner Stenson?
Chuck, what's the name of the pump company again?
It's called Flight. Flight pumps. They.
Where are they out of? Where
I
are they
believe
made?
they're originally out of Sweden.
But are
but
they
they-
manufactured in Sweden or in the United States?
I'm not sure exactly where
Okay.
these would. Is it Sweden? Yeah.
Okay, so these are being used in Europe quite a bit?
I think Europe and Canada, and from what I've found. so-
Now, my question is, okay, so the contractor's gonna build this site, this pump site, so they take a pickup truck somewhere and pick up or a big semi to go pick up these pumps, and then the contractor's gonna install them? Or is the company, you contract with the company to install the pumps, so that the manufacturer is actually installing the pumps? As a subcontractor or whatever?
The contractor's in charge of delivering the pump system. They would be working with the pump supplier to install them. Typically, in this case, the local Flight rep is called Electric Pump, and I've used Flight pumps on sanitary sewer lift stations before, and Electric Pump did the install and startup.
So in other words, the subcontractor who's gonna install these pumps are experienced with them. They know how they
Correct.
operate, they know what to do, where to put the nuts and bolts.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Where you'll have an earthwork or pipe contractor that does the manhole, all the dirt work. They'll contract with
Okay.
whoever it is. Now, one thing we have to publicly bid this, so we will say we want this pump, or if there's an equal on the market, I haven't found one, but if there is one, we would consider it.
Okay.
So,
The other question is, what are the manufacturer's guarantees on these pumps?
by statute, we have a 3-year warranty, but I believe their guarantees are longer than that. I don't have that. I don't know if you have that, Jake. So, the
So by
list.
law, they have to be guaranteed for 3 years.
Yep, once we accept it, once the drainage authority accepts it, then by law, we have a 3-year warranty. I believe theirs is longer than that.
But you don't know, it could be 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know. I did a pump station with a Flight pump I think it was constructed in '06. This is for a sanitary sewer lift station, and it was set up for 200 homes. Well, the market crashed, and they only had 20 homes built. So the manufacturer came out a couple years later and did some tweaking for us and got, ramped everything down and got it working properly. So they do back their stuff up.
All right, thank you, Commissioner.
One more question. I have one more question.
Yes, please.
Just going back procedurally, did any of the changes or amendments, will that impact our permitting issues with the DNR? Or is that fully resolved? We had that discussion early on, and I just want to make sure everybody's still happy.
It does not change anything. They permitted 90,000 gallons per minute.
Okay.
This pump
This is
station
how
would be
we're getting it there,
90,000
right?
gallons. It's
Yeah.
just how we're getting it there.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, I thought I saw Bruce Sellers here before.
He's
Like
there.
to give you an opportunity to speak on behalf of the petitioners, if you'd like to provide some comment at this time, Bruce. Please come forward, have a seat.
Just briefly, thank you. I believe the
the proposal that Mr. Brandel has is likely the best option. I think we were fortunate to have discovered this issue with the pump system before completing the construction, and so I even though it's a little bit more now, I think it's going to save in the long run, certainly. And so I would request that the board approve this.
So as the attorney for petitioners, are you telling us that the estimated benefits are greater than the total estimated
I believe they
cost?
are, yes.
And whether it'll remain a public utility?
Correct.
And whether it's practicable?
It is.
So you're testifying to that fact?
Yes.
Anything else that you'd like to add?
Not at this time.
Thank you.
I may have some comments later, but.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sellers. The chair will now open the continued public hearing, take testimony from all interested parties who are here today, and comments regarding this design change. It would probably, with the number of people here, we'd like to set the limit at 3 minutes each. Does that sound fair? It typically is. So you'd be asked to come forward, give your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to present your feelings to the board. So we'd invite folks to come forward now. Good morning, sir. Please state your name and address.
Tim Weibel, 45438 541st Avenue, Cortland. I drove out and looked at them pumps out in North Dakota. The guys were very pleased with them. They had a little hiccup at the start. There was a bolt that was sheared off at the bottom. They got that figured out after a little while. My biggest concern is, one thing that they had recommended was they have a scraper system to take the debris away before it gets into the culverts for the pump. That is included in on this price?
No, it's not. It is not. That would be, in my opinion, that'd be an operation and maintenance item, because right now, we had a screen included with the original project, and that screen was gonna have to be cleaned.
Mm-hmm.
So, it is not included in the estimate that I have.
If-
But I have a picture of it, just to be prepared.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that, I met with two farmers out there.
I'm gonna zoom in on
And
it.
they said that was one thing that was a must. So what it is, it's just like an old web on a manure spreader, and it moves very, very slow. It's driven hydraulically. And it can also be timed, so if they have it set up that if you want to run it a couple minutes out of a half an hour, that's what it'll do. And, but my biggest concern, and I'd never asked the question, is so on our existing system, our inlet culverts were metal. And what happens is the ice in the spring all the time settles down and it crushes them. And I'm wondering, I think this needs to be included right away. I do. But I think we need to set it up that we can have the top on a pivot and come down there with a crane and have a hookup or something to lift it out of the water in whenever we're done pumping, whenever that is, and just set it in an upright position that the ice cannot go on top. That's my only concern. That's my biggest concern.
I 100% agree, but that would be, in my opinion, that's something that's outside of, that's how we maintain the system.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just, I'm getting
I
back
agree.
to what them guys said. They said, with this amount of water and that they're pulling from this ditch, they said that is, to keep that debris back away is, and they had somebody locally build theirs. It wasn't a bought-in type screen, so.
So how would the funding of this maintenance item happen? Jackie, would you be able to answer that?
Yeah, it'd be.
If you'd like to, or how?
It'd be like a repair.
Right.
So instead of, the way we had it set up would be that right now, they have a grate on the system.
Right.
When that gets plugged up, somebody goes and cleans it. This would replace somebody going and cleaning it routinely. It would do it itself. So it'd be like a repair item. if that makes sense.
That would be outside of the improvement project, the way Mr. Brandel's describing it, and repairs are expended and distributed to all the landowners according to their benefits. So it would be a repair item similar to like the cleaning of the ditch or maintenance of the ditch.
Well, in these first comments that we're hearing today is, I mean, should that be something that these folks petition for immediately? Or
Would it need a petition?
Is it necessary, Chuck, at
It
this
is-
time, do you believe?
It is not necessary. It is not necessary at this time, but I think it's something that, you know, we saw the design of it. We think it was a great idea. Should we include it? Potentially, yes, but outside of the improvement project, in my opinion,
I see, okay.
if that makes sense. It's,
Mr. Sellers?
If it's not necessary at this time, I think it's something that maybe, this great system, is that?
yeah,
what it
great
is?
cleaning
The
system.
great cleaning system, let's see how the current system functions, and that can always be part of a maintenance or repair if it's necessary.
I see, okay. Mr. Weiland?
I just have a quick comment to that.
Please come forward so we can hear you again.
Okay. I disagree 100% with the statement, because of the fact, once that stuff gets in our pumps and starts to slow down the flow of the water, the debris, and it starts to cause troubles with other things by wrapping around different things down in there. The time to do it is now. Do it from the start. If we're going to do something, let's do it right. And I think deferring this to a later date is doing an injustice to all the landowners on the system.
I tend to agree. It's just that procedurally, it's a separate item.
Right.
So,
So
if
we're
that makes
underst-
sense?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
We're understanding that what you're saying is the building of it, that's a maintenance.
Correct.
topic. Good morning,
Ken-
could you state your name and
Morning,
address?
Ken Fleggy, 54851 County Road 15. I got a couple questions about this. We all know, I think, where we're at, about $1.7 million. And I would like to know the cost, a rough cost estimate on this thing, if we're gonna do this right away, because I agree with that philosophy to do it right away before we wreck some pumps. Because I doubt they're gonna stand behind the pump if they say, well, you ran a fence post in the thing.
Well, I'll tell you that the system that was built in North Dakota, I believe, costs $60,000.
Ooh.
I believe, is what they told us. I've gotten some quotes. I got a quote from the electric pump that was higher than that for it, so.
So that picture that you're showing, is that like a conveyor belt that's going down, or a little elevator going down into the water, scooping stuff up and throwing it to the other side before it gets into this?
Yes.
Is that what
trying
I'm
to see if I've got a
envisioning?
better picture of it. No, I don't. But, so it's, the inlet pipe is underwater.
Right.
And there's a screen, and you kind of see this dark color. That's a screen. This is about as best as I can zoom in.
Right.
This piece here is a brush. So it's got multiple brushes on it, and the conveyor brings the brushes around. The brushes take the material off the screen, pull it up, and then there's a pile of debris over here on the other side. So instead of routinely bringing it up, you're maintaining it as you go.
Mr.
Ultimately,
Fleet?
the extra product has to be removed then?
What's
The
that?
Recovered product ultimately still has to be handled somewhere along the way, though.
Yes, it could be spread out. It could be put on the backside of the pumps. It could be spread out in the buffer. It's, yeah.
But it's, okay, it's treated as a spoil then.
Yeah,
So,
it's
all right.
it's grass and weeds. and corn stalks. But
Mr.
like I
Fleege?
stated, it's not necessary, but it's a good idea.
Could be.
It could
Right
be.
now, it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one other question. We almost got burnt on this other system, because that one that's in there, as I understand it, does not work today yet. It's been there in quite a while already, but anyway,
It's
beyond
having
that,
problems,
we
yes.
passed that bridge. I don't, I think we're nearing the point of no return here. It's getting crazy with what we're gonna spend for money here. And I guess, well, I have one other question is, okay, we got one system that we think is working, right? One that we think is working.
I found 2 of these near us. Well, near us, I mean, it's
Okay,
10 hours away, but 2.
and they're both working right.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, are we gonna set our system up like this, or are we gonna change and modify and find out, oh, now this doesn't work either? We can't afford this anymore.
No,
Is where we're going.
Well, that's 100% agree. That's why I was trying to find a better solution. That's why we're here. I mean, we could have moved forward with what we had. I think this is a better way to do it.
So we're gonna set it up like this system is.
Yeah, the way that, and I can show you their drawings.
Now, that's fine, I just
The
wanted
way
to
their
know
system
because
is at, they have 4 of those large pumps and 1 small pump. They're 22,000 acres of water coming at them, and they pump a little higher. So we're a little smaller version of this, but we're mimicking their design.
Okay.
So because it's working, and they handle.
Okay.
It's North Dakota, but it's farm country and wetlands. So they're dealing with very similar to what we're doing. The project in Afton is city stormwater. When we went there, the debris was branches. So that's why this North Dakota system, just looking at it and how it was set up, I think it's a great idea, and I'm glad we were able to find that type of pump.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fleege. Any other public testimony here today on the 86A item in front of the Drainage Authority? Anyone else would like to make a public comment, please come forward. State your name and address.
Tim Gieske, 40322 541st Avenue. I had a couple comments previously, but just to respond to the new item here, I believe that's an infrastructure item, not a maintenance item, and should be included in there, just like the grate was included in there. So I think it's an obvious discussion, or it's a common sense point of discussion at least. So I wouldn't dismiss it today by any means as just maintenance. Also on the, because we are seeking net benefits is the goal. The net benefits is a serious business of why the ditch should be moving forward. So we want to include all reasonable costs in there. Also associated with net benefits in the determinations, there's 3 government lots included on there. I just want to know if those benefits were included into the total number, and if so, the 3 questions were: are they included in the benefits determinations? Are they being assessed to the project? And are they able to be legally to be assessed to the project? Those are my 3 questions. Thank you.
Who can take a shot at answering that one?
I don't have the benefit roll in front of me, so I'm not
Jackie, do you
sure
have
if I
something
do.
that might help?
I have it in my office, I can run and grab it.
All right.
Mr. Chair,
Are
I
we-
thought all governmental units in charge, or we have our highways, they get assessed, don't they? Yeah. So government lots that belong to, who do they belong to? The DNR?
They're listed here. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I believe there's DNR, but I believe there's also county right-of-way, but I'm not sure how that's
I'm sure
listed.
they
If you've got a copy of it, I could review it and tell
There's
you.
3 government lots listed to individuals.
yeah.
Okay, can I take a look at it?
Yes. I think I got them inked on there.
Find it faster than I can.
No, I didn't get that one, but here's a layout of the ditch and its owners. But this is only listing it by Southwest, so let's see government lots. Government lot 2. It's on page 9. Government lot 1. And
While we wait, those who are wanting to make comments, please raise your hand so we know when to call on you.
Where is it? Oh,
Would you
this
like
is
to
the
make a
determinant.
comment now, Bruce?
You have the-
Sure.
While these folks are reviewing,
This is the
Tim, if you just,
improvement
one second, just stay close.
So these would be for the, right here.
Thank you.
Lot 2.
Again, I understand the
Yeah, it's
concern
1 and 3.
with wanting to make sure that we're not ruining the pumps with the debris and installing this system, but Mr. Brandel does not think it's necessary at this time. It very well could be necessary. Close monitoring can alleviate those concerns with ruining pumps. Every area is different. It may become, we may find out that it's not necessary to spend that extra money. And I think that the prudent thing to do at this time, it's reasonable just to proceed with the recommendation that Mr. Brandel has now and allow the Drainage Administration and the engineer to monitor this situation closely, especially in the initial stages, to make sure that we don't need to do extra spending in order to put this new system in or this added system in. Thank you.
If I'm hearing the estimates correctly, I thought I heard Mr. Brandel say that this might be a $60,000 type of investment. Would those benefits still be greater than the total estimated cost at that point, or would it be a wash?
If it was $60,000, it would be by very close, very close. No.
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Chair,
We've
I'd
got a
like to make a
comment.
comment. It would seem to me that if, whether it's part of the project or classified as a repair petition could be filed just as the system gets completed, and then you could put it in, install it within a month or two after the project is done and ready, up and running, and it would be just called a repair. However, the concept of repair means you're fixing something that's already there. So it doesn't look like a repair to me. It's a new system. So maybe it should be part of the project, but it's.
Please state your name and address.
Lynn Fliggy, 41460, 551st Avenue. I've been reviewing this with Chuck and Tim Weibel, and I've been calling Xylem or Flight or whatever. And this cleaning system, I'm going to ask Tim Weibel if he can tell me how many hours a year this would save him so that we would not have to pay him. Is it $10,000 a year, 15? That's my question.
Would you like to answer that, Tim?
Well, I charge a flat fee, but the biggest thing that we have with our pumps is like the silage bags, that plastic, and that comes down in the ditch system. I don't know where it comes from, but it does show up every year. You've seen me cut it out, you know, with knives and stuff like that. There's all kinds of debris that come in there. It's amazing. Corn stalks are a big thing now. Corn stalks don't deteriorate like years ago because of genetics. There's a lot of stuff that comes in there. But, you know, it sounds like a lot, but like these guys, the way they had, when I say these guys, this North Dakota project, the way they had that set up, that just built it up, they had a little drop area, and they had a skid, and they just physically pulled that skid out with the debris on it. So it wasn't, you know, they did it with a tractor and a loader or a skid steer, whatever they were driving by, what the guy told me. And so anyway, but to answer the question, there's more debris in there than this guy would like to have, but you know, by far the plastics are the worst.
All right, any other public comments to the issue that we're discussing here today? Please, Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah, just concluding with my first.
Yes, please.
No question at all? Just to restate the question, there is 3 government lots in there. Are they assessed to the project? Well, I better read my 3 questions here so I get it right. Are they included in the benefits? Have they been assessed to the project? And are they able legally to be assessed to the landowners as government lots?
All right, we had a caucus about that with Jackie and Chuck, and you were coming up with answers?
They're on the benefit roll as assessed properties. So they are listed as assessed properties. On the benefit roll that you had that we had the determination and the redetermination, they were both listed in there. So.
And are they legally be able to be assessed as government-owned properties to the landowners?
County attorney or property manager?
The legal description is a government lot. It doesn't mean that it's owned by the government. It's just a legal description like it would be if it was platted or something else. It's a government lot platted like that versus the southwest quarter or the northwest quarter.
It's owned by an individual.
They're owned by individuals, so anything within the watershed.
That's not my interpretation.
I don't know how to answer that, sir.
Sure, so it relates to the net benefits that these people are illegally being assessed, and those net benefits come out, and, you know, and as we add this infrastructure in, we try to define if this is a good project or not. I mean, it's tough stuff, but, this, you know, this is why we're all here on a day, so.
I don't know, I don't understand your point.
Well, so there's lands platted. These are just not my ideas. There's lands platted as government lots
Yeah,
that
but
people are now farming.
But they can be sold to individuals.
They may be sold if there's 2 parties agreeing to the sell. But right now, they're owned by the government, and they're farmed by the individual.
Yeah, but they're not owned by the government. That's what Jackie's just saying.
And I'm disagreeing with that. And so you can prove me wrong, but at this point, I don't see the proof. I mean, otherwise, these landowners cannot be assessed for the project. I mean, this is just a sticking point that I think we need to get through to make sure the project, you know, meets its criteria.
Well, it sounds like more like a legal issue that would have to be settled by the court. But if I own a government lot number 10 and have 4 or 5 acres on it because it's meandering around water and I can farm it, why don't I own it? And why don't I be assessed the cost of the improvements? I'd be willing to pay it, right? Because I own the property.
Then it wouldn't be a government lot.
Jackie, you were coming forward, and then Michelle, maybe you might want to put an oar in the water here.
I can shed a little light on my knowledge on government lots. I believe they were probably established in 1871 or so. Government lot maps were recorded. A lot of them are around waterways, and but they are still, any legal description, they're not necessarily owned by the government. That's the way they were platted. And so I may own government lot 1, I may own part of government lot 1. Doesn't mean that the government owns that property. It's a government lot, is how it's platted, just like it would be lot 1, block 1 of a subdivision. But they're not owned by the government, that's a legal description.
Sure, so I should bring some further documentation that I've been shown, or? Okay, I thought it was more clear than that.
No, I can,
So I can clarify what I know in more detail, if you care to.
I'm going back to my memory of working with, we have land surveyors on, that work with us, and we've platted some government lots that were owned by an individual. We had to do some extra things to plat them, but we platted them. They essentially didn't become government lots anymore, and they were subdivided.
Right.
And
They
then-
were owned by, but they were owned by a developer. The cases that I've been involved with.
And they're called government lots
They were
after
owned.
they're owned by an individual.
Yeah.
Yes.
Michelle,
Yeah, that's correct. That's
Does
just
that
part of the
comport
legal
with what you know?
description. Yes.
would that be like an outlot too, Chuck?
No, wasn't an outlaw.
Not an outlot, but
Yeah.
a
That's a
government.
legal description as well, so it's,
Yeah.
I mean, just
Yeah,
the
it's-
fact that they're legal descriptions, not necessarily owned by, they can be owned by anybody.
Outlot you can't really do anything with or can't be owned, right?
It can be owned, but
But you
it has
can't-
a restriction
right,
on it.
that's
Yeah.
And those are on the county tax rolls, all the acres assessed here.
The government lot, or?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, government lots are just the same and treated equally as somebody that owns the northwest quarter, the southwest quarter of a section township range.
And the individual is assessed by the county for that land.
Absolutely. Yep,
Okay.
they pay
All right.
tax on it, there's a deed putting it into their name, so all government lots, if you own part of government lot or government lot 1 and 2 in section whatever, they have a deed going into their name.
All right, I'll
A
confirm
legal
that with
deed.
you later, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I just want to say another, in the watershed, Jackie, there is property that's owned by the county or the DNR. There is property within the watershed that's owned by the county, in other words, the road.
Correct.
The roads, or the
Those are
township
assessed.
roads.
County Road 5.
Yeah, and they're assessed.
They are, so the county is also paying a piece of the pie in any bill that's presented as well.
Right.
As the township, if it's a township road, or,
So any land
Or
within
the state, if it's a
within
state
the, within the watershed, no matter who owns it, gets assessed.
correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Long as, yeah. All right, thank you. And I just wanted to make note of Commissioner Stenson's comment about if it's infrastructure, we don't want to get caught where we have to reopen this ditch up after to incorporate a infrastructure piece rather than repair. I think it's a very obvious infrastructure piece that we need to make keep this pump functioning properly, so.
Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
That goes back to any other public comment on the item in front of us now? This is your chance. This is your opportunity to weigh in on where County Ditch 86A is going to be improved and hopefully create some answers for landowners.
Mr. Chair, there seems to be still some difference of opinion about this screening apparatus, of whether it should be included in the project or not. And if it's supposed to be included in the project, it would just make it part of, is there anything special that we would have to do other than say it's included?
It would change, well, I think we first have to conclude the public hearing first, and then then the board can have its discussion, but I would first conclude the.
Mr. Sellers?
Again, while some may disagree, there may be a matter of disagreement between individuals. Your engineer that you've hired has stated that it's not necessary at this time. So that's what I would like the board to consider. That the installation of this cleaning system, this mechanism, is not necessary at this time. While we might disagree whether it may be or it is right now or it may be in the future, Chuck, is that, again, what you're saying is it's
Yeah.
not necessary right now?
The way the project was previously set up and now we have, and the existing has a great system that's manually cleaned. This would be, in my opinion.
Thank you.
A maintenance item.
Mr. Sellers, I have a question for you, if you
Yes.
don't mind, Jack.
Go ahead.
You represent the petitioners on this improvement,
I do.
and so do your clients agree that it should go ahead without this particular?
I believe that
Item?
they understand that it's in their best interest to proceed without that item at this time.
Okay.
I have one question.
Mr. Flingy and then Commissioner Kemp.
41,460, if we do decide to go with the screening, at what point do we come back and say we'd like to have it? I guess, there's gotta be something that we can consider. You know, I'm not saying that it's not gonna work, but if we decide to consider this, is it in a year, 6 months, something like that? That's my question.
I'll have our county officials consider that as we hear from Commissioner Kemp.
I just have a brief question for Chuck. Is there any material change in the design as specified that would prohibit or make it more costly or change the design to facilitate a mechanical screening device?
No. The mechanical screen device goes over the
Existing grid.
The existing,
Or grate.
yes.
And
So-
you're, in essence, we're using a mechanical cleaning device to clean the grate. Other
Correct.
than Tim going out there with a hay fork and digging his way through that, we're
Correct.
asking a machine to do that on a predictable basis. Is that
Correct.
right, Tim?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. I just wanted to be clear that I understood that.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
I'd like
Commissioner.
I'd like to answer Lynn's question. I think, Lynn, since you're a property owner on the ditch, you have every right to file a repair petition, I think, basically at any time with certain specifications in it. And so it seemed to me that after we go through the approval of the improvement right now, you could file it the next day, be implemented either during construction or months or weeks after.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
I think so.
I want to add one, if I could, just, I have the last 3 years of bills, and depending on, it's hard to break it down, but just looking at it, there's some years that spent maybe $20,000 to $25,000 on maintenance to the system. So it might be justified, but it's not needed. We had a screen on there previously, if that's the way to put it.
All right, we're just moments away from closing this public hearing so that we can bring it before the Drainage Authority. Any other comments from the public on this proposal here today? Any other comments before we close the public hearing? Are there any other comments? Well, then it would be up to me to close the public hearing. We'll now discuss the change, reach a resolution on the recommendation. Preliminary draft is completed. I would recommend a brief recess, or do you want to have discussion at this point in time?
Mr. Chair, I think the board should discuss whether it's going to approve or deny the design change.
Okay.
And reach that conclusion, as well as maybe state some bases and then modify the findings to reflect appropriately.
All right, well, you've heard the report from Mr. Brandel. You've heard the public comments from landowners in the area. It's open for discussion. What do you wish to do?
Well, I think it's clear that the landowners, as from what I can see and from the petitioner's attorney, they want to accept Chuck's amended or new proposed with respect to those new pumps. So I will, to get the discussion going, I will make a motion that we accept Mr. Brandel's recommendation for the improvement.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Discussion. What is the cost without, what is the investment without the idea of putting the screen in there?
The total, the breakdown estimated the estimate, we had quotes. We got quotes from, said, quote us this, so I can show you those. But the estimate is, total project cost to, $1,754,375. Now that includes, there were a couple laterals, there was one lateral and the culvert crossing that were separated from that, but that's the total cost. And then there's separable maintenance of just under $1 million. And a net benefit of $61,000.
And that estimated benefit is still greater than the total estimated cost.
Yes.
And if you added that screen in there for the estimated $60,000, would the estimated benefits be greater than the total estimated cost at the beginning?
If it was $60,000, yes, by $1,500 based on the estimate.
And is that a good way to do business on projects of this size?
I don't have a direct quote for that screen, so I just.
It's a shot in the dark.
Yes, correct.
It doesn't leave room for any overruns either.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and again, this is estimated. We haven't seen a bid yet.
We haven't bid it, no.
And so this may all be moot regardless if our bids are way over the top.
I think what I'm hearing today are landowners who think that it's a good idea to go ahead and do this new project. I'm also hearing that they want that screen in there to not mess up a $1.6 million project, is what I'm hearing. Whether or not it's a good idea to do it immediately or find the time, as you mentioned, Mr. Fliggy, to work with our county, with the ditch folks to make that repair or whatever you want to call improvement, so that it times out with the installation of this pump might probably be the best idea. That way both ideas are served, if I'm hearing it correctly. I might be wrong. Am I hearing it correctly?
I think so.
So that when we go ahead and vote on this matter, we're just voting on the matter of the proposal before us from Mr. Brandel, not on the estimated $60,000 screen job. That would be, if you folks believe strongly in that, and I'm hearing that you do, that would be up to you to act on as an improvement. Does that make sense? Instead of putting it on the initial cost. I'm asking if that makes sense to folks.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
it would not be considered an improvement. If you do an improvement petition, you would have to go through this whole process again. I think if you wait to see how the project works and functions, and if this screening is then needed, then you can do the request for maintenance and repair to add this screening process in. And I can certainly talk with landowners, and Mr. Sellers can as well. I've had this conversation with Mr. Sellers prior to this meeting, so we'll have that. We can certainly have continued conversation about getting the screening mechanism considered for this project if it's needed.
Madam Attorney, thank you for correcting my misuse of the word improvement. Any other comments on the motion that's in front of us at this time? Could you please repeat the motion?
A motion to accept the recommended design change. Motion made by Stinson, seconded by Drexel.
Any other discussion on the motion in front of us? Remembering that Commissioner Lipke is abstaining because he's a landowner. Commissioner Stenson.
We've got to get this done and moving again. With all the landowners here, no one stood up and say they don't want it. I mean, either they came to the decision that, yes, this is gonna be a good thing, or they're gonna get outvoted anyway, but I didn't hear any word of negativity towards the new proposal. And apparently, these pumps are just fantastic, and we'll see if Chuck can live up to his word about that. But, so we certainly hope the design is proper. And it's a better system than was it ditch 90 that we put in the other pumps? So I think we're gonna have a better situation. And even though John abstains, he's not up here, he certainly has voice out there. He could say whether he likes it or not. He's not saying, okay.
He was hiding behind Tim there.
All right, any other discussion on the motion in front of us? We're about to bring this to an end, and we thank all of you for being here as this project will hopefully improve quality of life and soil out in your area.
Mr. Chair, I just have one other question of procedure. What if yeah, but they're talking real quietly as if it's...
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So if the motion passes, we still take a break so that you can draft the findings? Is that it?
I'll draft the findings. I've got preliminary findings drafted.
Okay,
I
and
just
then we
need
come
to-
back and we look at that and we approve that.
Then you approve the specific findings.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion among the board? I'll ask, call roll.
Stenson?
Yes.
Drantle?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Kolarz?
Yes, it passes 4-0 with an abstention. We are in a 5-minute recess. How much do you need?
That, as long as it would take you to read the proposed findings, but 5 minutes should be fine.
All right, we'll be returning in 5 minutes. Amend the Drainage Authority agenda. And before the Drainage Authority for County Ditch number 86A, we have all been supplied with information on the findings of fact of an order of the Drainage Authority and the continued final hearing by the Drainage Authority of Nicollet County regarding the petition for improvements to Nicollet County Ditch 86A, Lafayette, Bernadette, and Brighton Township. At this point in time, the Drainage Authority, having completed its deliberations, its examinations of all files and records herein, its hearing of all interested persons, and its consideration of all reports, makes the following findings of fact, which we will ask our attorney to recite.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Findings of fact in order of the Drainage Authority on the continued final hearing by the Drainage Authority of Nicollet County regarding the petition for improvements to Nicollet County Ditch 86A, Lafayette, Bernadette, and Brighton Townships. Under the findings of fact, a petition for improvement to Nicollet County Ditch 86A was filed with the Nicollet County Public Services Office. The Drainage Authority accepted the petition on May 9th, 2017. The Drainage Authority appointed Charles Brandel, P.E., of I&S Group to act as engineer to prepare a preliminary engineer's report. Mr. Brandel completed his preliminary engineer's report and filed it with the Nicollet County Public Services Office on December 19th, 2017. The hearing on the preliminary engineer's report was held on January 23rd, 2018. At the conclusion of the preliminary hearing, the Drainage Authority adopted the findings and an order accepting the preliminary survey report and ordering the engineer to proceed with the detailed survey. Said findings were signed by Chairperson Kolarz on January 23rd, 2018. The Drainage Authority appointed viewers Ron Rehnquist, Charles W. Anderson, and Brad Wick. On April 18th, 2018, the engineer filed the final engineering report with the Department of Property Services. The Drainage Authority set a final hearing for June 18th, 2018 to review the engineer's final engineering report and the viewer's report. The hearing was continued until July 10th, 2018 to allow for additional comment by the Department of Natural Resources. The engineer presented the final engineering report, including recommendations for the specific improvements and repairs. The final engineer's report was complete and correct according to Chapter 103E of Minnesota statutes. On July 10th, 2018, the viewer's report and the addendum were presented to the Drainage Authority by viewer Ron Wingcrest. The viewer's report was complete and correct. The damages and benefits of the improvement project were properly determined. Based upon the viewer's report, the gross benefit calculation was as follows: $1,186,217.48. By order dated July 10th, 2018, the Drainage Authority established and ordered the improvements to Nicollet County Ditch 86A. Following the July 10th, 2018 order, the engineer became aware of an alternative pump design that would better serve the needs of Nicollet County Ditch 86A. The engineer investigated the alternative design, toured a pump location to inspect the alternative pump installation and functioning, and viewed historical data regarding the pump. On October 9th, 2018, the engineer appeared before the Drainage Authority and presented a preliminary report to the Drainage Authority recommending the alternative pump design. The Drainage Authority set this issue for a continued hearing. The authority further ordered that notice of hearing be published and that notice of hearing be mailed to all landowners on County Ditch 86A. Notice of the continued hearing was published on October 25th, 2018, November 1st, 2018, and November 8th, 2018. Notice of the hearing was posted on October 25th, 2018. Notice was also mailed to landowners on October 25th, 2018. The engineer presented testimony detailing the advantages of the alternative pump design. The alternative pump design would consist of submersible pumps instead of an axial flow pumps that were included in the original final engineering report. The submersible pumps would consist of two 48-inch diameter pumps and a single 14-inch pump. The 14-inch pump will handle the base flow, and the two 48-inch pumps are designed for high flow events or for events with, there is a typo, for events when the smaller pump cannot handle the flow coming into the system. The alternative pump design would require one housing structure instead of 3 structures. The installation of the pump design would cost approximately $251,313 more than the original pump design. The engineer supported the alternative pump design as the design addresses the drainage system needs better than the original design and operates more efficiently than the original pump design. The alternative pump design will result in a decrease in the overall operational cost of the new system. The cost savings include approximately $20,000 per year for an average precipitation year. Number 17, the viewers examined the alternative pump design and opined that the change in pump design did not impact the original viewer's report presented on July 10th, 2018. 18, the landowners spoke in favor of the pump design change recommended by the engineer. Number 19, the authority finds that the alternative pump design is better suited for County Ditch 86A and will more efficiently long-term than the original pump design approved on July 10th, 2018. The estimated benefits remain greater than the total estimated cost, including damages. 21, the proposed drainage project remains of public benefit and promotes the public health. 22, the proposed drainage project is practicable. Number 23, the original benefits, findings of fact, and order of the Drainage Authority on the final hearing following the detailed survey and detailed survey report and the viewer's report by the Drainage Authority of Nicollet County regarding the petition for improvements to Nicollet County Ditch 86A, Lafayette, Bernadette, and Brighton Townships included an allocation of costs based upon a request for separable maintenance. The system is in need of repair, and the cost of the repairs was accounted for by the engineer and viewers. Said allocation of separable maintenance is not impacted by the Drainage Authority's approval of an alternative pump design. Based upon the foregoing findings and the entire record of proceedings before the board, acting as Drainage Authority for Nicollet County Ditch 86A, hereby orders as follows. Order number 1. The Nicollet County Drainage Authority for Nicollet County Ditch 86A hereby establishes and orders said improvement to Nicollet County Ditch 86A according to the project as described in the final engineer's report further amended by the memorandum dated July 9th, 2018, to remove branch 3B tile, and further amended to reflect the installation of the alternative pump design as described in Exhibit B. The amount established by the engineer as separable maintenance shall be charged to Nicollet County Ditch 86A and deducted from the cost of the improvement to Nicollet County Ditch 86A. Number 3, the board directs the Public Services Manager to take all necessary actions for the construction of said improvement to Nicollet County Ditch 86A and authorizes the Public Services Manager to proceed as necessary, reserving to itself only those matters that the board by vote must authorize. Number 4, upon completion of the project, the drainage system record shall be updated with the as-built alignment and conditions of the improvement to Nicollet County Ditch 86A. Number 5, the viewer's determination of improvement to Nicollet County Ditch 86A benefits and damages contained in the viewer's report dated July 10th, 2018, and the benefits and damages statement are hereby confirmed and adopted by the Drainage Authority. Said report is attached as Exhibit A and is hereby incorporated by reference. The viewers, engineers, and attorneys are allowed payment for their accounts of work. The Public Services Manager shall ensure that the benefit roll is updated to reflect the benefits confirmed in this order. Number 8, the percentage of the cost of the drainage project to be paid by each affected landowner shall be in direct proportion to the benefits and damages as determined in the viewer's report. After discussion, the board chair called the question. The question was on the adoption of the foregoing findings of fact and order. The motion passed with all voting in favor.
So after reading this into the record, do we as a drainage authority need to vote again, or this is?
I would vote to adopt the findings as proposed.
So you have the findings of fact in front of you. Is there a motion to adopt the findings of fact as
I'll
read
move
into the
findings of
record?
fact.
Commissioner Kemp has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a question, Mr.
Commissioner
Chair.
Drantle has seconded. Discussion, Commissioner Stenson.
You said something, there was a typo?
Typo in number 14. Right now it says 4 events with the smaller pump cannot handle, and it should be 4 events when the smaller pump cannot handle.
Okay, so we acknowledge that change. The last sentence, motion passed with all voting in favor, is that the motion that I made?
That would be this motion adopting these findings.
Okay, but we're gonna have, maybe all, you anticipate all voting in favor, but shouldn't,
I didn't vote.
but yeah, John is not voting, so is he a commissioner? He's not included in all?
We could modify that to say motion passed with all voting in favor and Commissioner Lipke abstaining.
Okay.
Is that what you want?
Yeah, that's what I liked, because I think the record should show that there was only 4 commissioners voting and 1 abstaining.
Is that okay with the maker of the motion?
Yes.
Is that okay with the seconder? Okay. We've made that adjustment. Lynette, you have that? Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? Any other discussion on the motion? Please call the roll.
Yes.
Drantle?
Yes.
Stenson?
Yes.
Kolars?
Yes, carries 4-0 with Commissioner Lipke abstaining. Any other items to come before the Drainage Authority?
Any other items?
I'm gonna go ahead and call it a day if you're thinking of something.
Well, then you should have not asked that question. You should have said, you want a motion. You should have said, I want a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second? There's a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say
I
aye.
could talk about a lot of stuff.
Those
when it comes to
opposed? It
ditches.
carries. Thank you for your time today. Have a great week.